Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome back to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. On today's show, we are taking a look at a little trade deadline rewind, having a breakdown of what guys are playing well and who guys are not fitting in on their brand new teams, and Friday's 5-game betting and DFS boards. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to your favorite and hottest podcast. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast with Big Philip Livingstone and Steele Roden. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single day. You know we appreciate it, and you know where to find us across all platforms you find your favorite content. Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube. Smash that subscribe button, everybody. Thank you so much for holding us down. We're feeling good Friday. It is a big weekend in sports, Steel. I know we're both fired up. Masters, baseball, hoops, obviously on the ice as well, which is where we're looking today. The trade deadline is almost 3 weeks behind us, 2.5 weeks. We're not numbers people. Don't hold it to us. But it's time to take a look quickly at some of the players that have made, fit in really well, Steele, have made their fantasy impact and seen their numbers go up. And a couple of players who have not fit in well or have not fit in as of yet and aren't playing well. We're going to break that down for you, of course. And we got to pay these bills, baby. We've got the Friday game, 5-game breakdown for betting and DFS. So stay tuned for that around the break. Steele is heating back up. We've got some winners to come your way. So stay tuned for our big-time bets and locks of the night. Steele, let's do it, my friend. Trade deadline rewind. Who are you looking at? Because clearly there's been some hits and there's been some misses as well already, only 3 weeks out.
Yeah, there has been quite a more disappointments than surprises so far from the trade deadline from what I've seen. The guy I'm most disappointed in for me is Pittsburgh Penguins' new forward, Rickard Rakell. I don't think he's done enough. The team hasn't been the same since he's got there. They're 3-5 in their last 8 games. And the games that they won, they beat the Columbus Blue Jackets, Detroit Red Wings in that blowout 11-2 win game. And then against the Minnesota Wild, a 4-3 win in overtime. So a very close game against a very high-tier team. But the other two games that they won, complete blowouts. 5-1 against Columbus and 11-2 against the Detroit Red Wings. The games they lost to Colorado twice, the New York Rangers twice, and the Buffalo Sabres. So four of those losses came to Stanley Cup contending teams. And it just hasn't been great. He hasn't played great, especially on that second line with Evgeny Malkin and Jeff Carter on the right wing. He's got 5 points in those 8 games, but again, 3 of those points were in that 11-2 win against the Red Wings. So not a lot to take out of that just ridiculously high scored game from the Pittsburgh side of things. And I just think Pittsburgh needs to be a lot better. Tristan Jarry hasn't been on his game. That second line still hasn't done a lot. I think they're still trying to figure out line chemistries and mix things around to get a good feel heading into the postseason. But the last 8 games, the games that Rickard Rakell has been in since the Pittsburgh Penguins have acquired him, I have not been at all impressed with his game.
You know what? It's a little bit of, I think the whole team is struggling a little bit right now. And as much as, it's a small sample size, right? For everyone here. So we have to be clear about that. But at the end of the day, I think a guy like Rickard Rakell being able to play with Evgeny Malkin, I think we all expected a little bit more right away, and maybe that was naive, but I think, come on, going on a line with Malkin and getting the opportunity he has right away, I think just overall we expected the last week and change the Pittsburgh Penguins to be a lot better overall, and I think that's just also affecting his play as well. I don't know what you think about that, Stu.
Yeah, I expected a lot more, and the 5 points that he's got, They only came from 2 different games, 3 points in the Red Wings game and then 2 points in that 2 goals in that 4-3 win over the Minnesota Wild in overtime. So besides that, he hasn't really done anything in the rest of the games that they've played in besides those 2 wins against the Red Wings and Minnesota Wild. I think he needs to do a lot more, especially going into the postseason, because as of late, they're probably going up against the New York Rangers in the first round, and they've already lost the last 2 games to them. So I think that second line especially needs to be a lot better.
That Metro division is going to be a real interesting one to see who comes out of on top. I say it every other episode. I'm already chomping at the bit for some NHL playoff action, baby. I need to see what happens. I'm also got that degenerate gambling itch going, Steele. It's massive.
I've seen your bets. Baby. There's a lot.
Bets are flying out the window. My fiance is a bit concerned, but that's okay. Stick with us for big-time bets coming up around the break. We have our locks of the night. We're starting to heat up a little bit. The locks of the night are coming next, so make sure you stay tuned. DFS targets as well. But Steele, where I'm looking, and I agree with you fully, Rickard Rakell, I think, is going to need to be better, especially if the Penguins want to make a run. They need that secondary scoring. That's why they got him, and he needs to be a little bit better, along with Evgeny Malkin and the rest of the Penguins. So let's leave that at that. I'm going to look to a positive because, in my opinion, Mark Giordano has already made an impact on the Maple Leafs blue line, and I unfortunately, of course, have to say this right after the Maple Leafs went out and put up a absolutely disgusting defensive performance to blow a 5-goal lead against the Florida Panthers. But aside from that, Giordano has looked great, and he's chipped in with a goal and 2 assists. He's been sensational on defense, and what I find the most, he blocks shots, hits. He's logging 20 minutes a night. He's up there in age. I don't know exactly, 43, 44, 45. He's up there. I don't know. It's impressive. And at the end of the day, it's adding stability to this Leafs blue line that needed it so badly. It provides them this backbone. They've looked like a different unit. Again, aside from this Florida game, let's be honest, that was ugly. But hey, man, he's chipping in fantasy-wise. He's relevant again. We talked about it. You pegged it after his move to playing with the Leafs. You called that, so props due to you, good sir. He's looked great, Steele, overall, and I think he's really made an awesome impact and fit in well. Trade deadline-wise, this has definitely been a positive.
Did you just say Mark Giordano was 42, 43, 44?
Sorry, my bad. You know me in numbers. In his 30s.
Okay, we're not good with numbers. That's why we stick to,
No, sorry, 44. Man,
hockey.
I told you. Me and the numbers. I get riled up and it just gets out of control. He's in his late 30s. The point I'm trying to make is a move for him at that time of the year, and a guy at that age who's already logged so much in his career. What I'm trying to say is it's impressive. Thank you for reeling me back in. This is the afternoon special. But yeah, Giordano been a great fit, and I think that what's most impressive is you can tell the character of that Leafs blue line has already changed. They look more confident.
Yeah, they do look a lot more confident. Besides that, obviously 5-1 lead blow to the Florida Panthers.
Brutal.
They've played really, really great since acquiring Mark Giordano, and I really like what he's done. 3 points in the 7 games that he's played with the Maple Leafs so far. I would like to see a little bit more offensively, but you said it yourself. He's blocking shots. He's getting hits. He's getting physical with guys and standing up for the Leafs already. So I like that as a positive as well. My biggest surprise from the trade deadline is Tampa Bay Lightning's new forward, Nick Paul. They are 4-5 in their last 9 games. So, not a positive record, but he has 6 points in those 9 games. He's played really, really great on that third line with Brandon Hagel and Ross Colton. I think John Cooper is now starting to mix up the lines, try to find some different chemistry, because as we both know that heading into the playoffs, things might need to change on the fly, and you need to find some new lines in case if things aren't going the way you plan them. So I think this is the smart move from John Cooper, changing things up right now. This is the time to, figure out what lines really work well. If you need to change things on the fly, like I said before, and this now is the time to do it before heading into the first round, because you're going up against the Florida Panthers, the Toronto Maple Leafs, or the Boston Bruins. And, those can be some really, really intense games. But I think Nick Paul has been a huge surprise. Obviously playing on that third line. He's got some good chemistry there, but I think it's now time to see who else he can play with. And I think he's playing with Anthony Cirelli and Alex Killorn on the second line now.
Yeah, and I think that's indicative of how well he's been playing. Obviously he went pointless for a stretch of games there to start, but he has come on strong the last couple of games. And even though he was going pointless, he was still providing valuable time on the ice in limited minutes. I believe he's only around 13 or 14 minutes of ice time per night.
Yeah.
So I think this is, again, the Tampa Bay Lightning going out and getting a really cheap piece, augmenting this roster nice. And, the more that I watch that team, and I know you mentioned it, good point. have struggled over their last 9 or 10 to find consistency, playing a little bit better now, 4-5, I think you said, over that stretch.
Yeah.
But this is a team, dude, that you cannot sleep on for 1 second. Back-to-back reigning champs. You have to keep your eye on that, and you have to keep your eye on Built Bar, Steele. I know you love you some chocolate. I want to talk about it. 100% real chocolate. Built Bars are delicious. Low calorie, high protein. You know what I'm going to say. You need to replace your candy bars with Built Bars. They are just better. A typical candy bar will run you anywhere from 200 to 300 calories, whereas a Built Bar is only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. You compare that to the candy bar, you're not going to like it. It's time to get healthy. These are good before or after the gym, or just as a late night snack. Holler at Steele. He's a late night Built Bar aficionado. All the flavors are coming up with all the time. They're delicious. And seriously, take in the latest flavors. Raspberry cheesecake, banana cream pie, churro, salted caramel, you name it, they got it. If you can think of a flavor, they will make it. They will make it taste delicious first and think about how to make it healthy after. At Built.com, they are all about the taste. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off. I'll say it one more time for the people in the back. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off.
Thank you for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every day. For your next listen, you have to go check out the Locked On Now podcast. Nightly recaps of every NHL game with analysis from our local experts. You don't want to miss out on all the highlights and all the highlights in every single game. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast, just like this podcast right here. So please make sure you hit the subscribe and the follow button. Flip and I appreciate all the love and support out there that you give us. So thank you so much for that. Flip, 5 games on the schedule for Friday night. For DFS selections, I'm looking at a couple of games. I want to know what you think of these matchups as well, but I will start off with, of course, my Minnesota Wild and the St. Louis Blues. This game is going to set up the grueling matchup in the first round. These guys it's inevitable. These two teams are going to face off in the first round of the playoffs. Right now, it's just, a battle of home ice advantage at this point.
Which is important.
This is a very, very important game, and this is going to, you like to say statement game. This is a playoff atmosphere kind of vibe in the regular season.
Big time.
And this is what's going to happen in the first round. I think this is going to be one of the matchups that in the first round goes to 7 games. It's going to be that type of atmosphere.
I can see it.
I'm looking at both sides because there's so much value up and down this on both the Minnesota Wild and St. Louis Blues. Top 6 forwards, bottom 6 forwards on the blue line, goaltenders as well.
Yeah.
For me, I'm looking at that second line from the St. Louis Blues, who I've been going back to for the last couple of games. Vladimir Tarasenko, Robert Thomas, and then I'm looking on the third line left winger Ivan Barbashev as well, because he's been absolutely fantastic for the Blues. And Jordan Kyrou, Brayden Schenn on that third line as well. Over to the Minnesota side of things, Kevin Fiala, Frederick Gaudreau, Joel Eriksson Ek, who you've mentioned the last couple of times. All of these guys, they're going to be around $4,500 to $5,000. But this is the type of game where you're going to get a lot out of your second and third line, because that first line matchup is going to be very, very tight.
I could see this whole game being tight. I think when I looked at this 5-game board, honestly, I think I said it the other night, this was a tough one for me as well to really back one team really heavy in one situation or another. But, I'm going to stay consistent to what I've been doing this week, and that's targeting what I've been thinking is good situations for goaltenders. I've been hitting those most of the time, aside from the other night in a debacle of a Colorado-Pittsburgh game that featured a whole lot of goals. I think this is going to be a close, low-scoring game, Steele. And I just need to show some love to Ville Husso, who has been great. I mentioned him the other night. This guy has earned that St. Louis Blues crease. You can tell that they're a more confident group with him in the net. And I think really, with how balanced that forward group is and how well they're playing right now, hey, man, that's the kind of makeup to me, Steele, that can make some noise in the playoffs. especially if they can get a couple of big performances from their goaltender, which they're getting right now. And I know, like you said, I think what's the most intriguing about this game is that these two teams have a pretty good hate-on for each other and a really nice rivalry brewing. And I think either way you slice it, you want to get some DFS action in on these teams. But I would highlight Ville Husso in the cage for the St. Louis Blues because also, tease, St. Louis has a great track record against Minnesota over the last 10 games, and even more so at home in St. Louis. Minnie doesn't do well on the road in St. Louis. Double tease.
Yeah, you can also highlight Cam Talbot and Marc-Andre Fleury as well. Besides that Nashville game, and I kind of want to save this for the big time bets, but besides Nashville game, the goaltenders have been absolutely ridiculous for the Minnesota Wild as well. So highlight Cam Talbot and Marc-Andre Fleury as well.
Great point.
Alongside Ville Husso, because Husso has been absolutely incredible since taking the reins from Jordan Binnington. But that's the first matchup I really looked at. And that really intrigued me because I think it's going to be a low-scoring tight game as well.
Yep.
The second game I'm looking at, and I'm going back to the top-scoring team in the NHL, the Florida Panthers against the Buffalo Sabres. I don't think you can go wrong with a guy like Jonathan Huberdeau.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Hey, Bet365, thanks a lot for voiding all of my future bets on the Florida Panthers that I got at Steele. What did I say right before the deadline? If they get Giroux, that odd is going to go down. I got the Florida Panthers at 14-1, 10-1, and at 8-1. Take a look at what they're at now. Thanks for coming out. Bet365, figure it out.
Yeah, that's where we're sticking with betonline.net. We'll get to that very soon. But man, Jonathan Huberdeau, 18 points in his last 9 games for Hooby Dooby Doo. 9 points for Claude Giroux since he's joined the team as well. I'm also throwing Sam Reinhart in there because he had an absolute fantastic game in that 7-6 win against the Toronto Maple Leafs with 2 goals and 1 assist as well. Even though he plays on the third line, he gets top power play minutes, but I don't think you can go wrong in this situation with Huberdeau and Giroux. If it weren't for Austin Matthews potentially getting to 60 goals, but even just having 55 on the season right now, if it weren't for Matthews having the season he's having with the Toronto Maple Leafs, Huberdeau would be my Hart Trophy winner right now. And I know Connor McDavid's at 105, 106 points, but Huberdeau's at 102. He's been absolutely fantastic for the Florida Panthers, best player by far.
Agreed.
So, if it wasn't for Austin Matthews having the season that he's having, Jonathan Huberdeau is the next in line for the Hart Trophy.
And honestly, I don't think there's been a point in time this season that you could have really gone wrong targeting this Florida Panthers team. Huberdeau has been insane. The one other spot that I think you could go though tonight, Steele, and I'll wrap that up super quick and throw it back to you, is just the Colorado Avalanche forward group has stepped up in the absence of Gabriel Landeskog and Nazem Kadri, especially Mikko Rantanen. And I just think that he is worth a look tonight for sure. Nathan McKinnon, obviously, you're going to pay the premium for those guys, but the Winnipeg Jets are not playing well again. And I mean in a big way. How about a 3-1 loss to the Detroit Red Wings and 3 straight losses in a row? So I think this is a really, really good spot for the Colorado Avalanche to continue to pad that lead up top. So have a look at the Colorado Avalanche top 6 forwards as well, because that second line, I think it's Alex Newhook, JT Compher. Those are names you're not going to have to pay as much for because they're not as flashy, but they're getting a ton of minutes still, and they're getting those opportunities. So have a look there as well for some value. Holler at your boy.
I love that you're highlighting the Colorado Avalanche because, as everyone knows of now, I had some serious concern with their team, with the remainder of the regular season and going into the first round of the playoffs. Obviously going into the first round, they're most likely going up against the Nashville Predators or the Dallas Stars. I don't think the Vegas Golden Knights have any chance at making the playoffs this time in the season, but you're going up against the Predators. You're going up against the Predators and the Dallas Stars. You're most likely going to win, but with all those injuries, it does become very, very concerning in the first round. But they've really stepped up in the absence of those top tier players, I like the fact that you highlighted those guys.
The Knights still have a shot, though. Let's throw that out there. I know what you're saying.
I don't think they have a shot. No, I don't think they have a shot whatsoever.
I like this hot take. It's searing. Done. It's so hot, it's searing. I like it.
The Golden Knights are done, man. They're not winning. They're not making the playoffs.
Pack it in.
The first year. Pack it in. This is the first year that they're not going to make the postseason. It's sad to see, but this is what happens when you have all these people on the IR and you can't figure out your cap salary.
That's true.
So yeah, I don't think the Golden Knights are making it, but we'll get to that very, very soon. Potentially when the first round's about to start.
Yes, sir.
But before we get to big time bets, and Flip was mentioning the issues with Bet365. This is why we're highlighting BetOnline.net.
Yes.
They are your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including this week's Masters Championships, odds, podcasts, and reviews for all the different leagues this season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and actions. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thank you for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every day. Flip, we got to make sure we say this every single time. Make sure you hit the subscribe and the follow button, and you'll get the latest episodes. And thank you so much for tuning in. Flip and I appreciate all the love and support out there and for you tuning into the episodes every single day. With that being said, 5 games on the schedule Friday night. You know me, Flip. I always connect my big time bets with my DFS selections, and that's exactly what I've done. And I want to get back to that Minnesota Wild St. Louis Blues conversation because you and I were both on the same page. Tight game, a low scoring game. I believe it's going to be a low scoring game. We're highlighting the goaltending in this situation. I am going with the Minnesota Wild on the money line.
Okay.
Because they have been on a tough 4-game road trip, but they've played well. They've beat the Carolina Hurricanes 3-1. They smashed the Washington Capitals 5-1. And then that Nashville Predators game, they lost 6-2, but it really did get away from them. There was 28 plus minutes on both sides for the Wild and Predators. They were really just invested in the fighting. So I think besides that game, that really got away from them. They've been really great on the road trip so far. I think they go into St. Louis and, I'm thinking like a 3-2 game, a 3-2 win for the Minnesota Wild, but I've got the Wild on the money line, and I'm also taking the Wild and the Blues under 6 goals at plus 100 for my lock of the night because we're highlighting the goaltending. I think the goaltending really showcases in this game.
I absolutely love this lock of the night. Good sir. I actually teased this up to 6.5.
Yeah.
Because I'm feeling that. That's not going to be my lock of the night, but I'll take the little bit of lesser odds because you know what? I don't want to get burned by that half goal, but I absolutely love that pick for you. And everything that you're saying about the under lines up for me heavy. But you know what? I think we have a little bit of side bet action. The Blues didn't make my card for the show, but I will be sprinkling a little bit on them because I'll just ream this off for 1 second. The Blues have been playing pretty good. Mini sliding a little. St. Louis, 3 in a row wins. I know that was against Arizona and Seattle most recently, but the one before that was against Calgary. Minnesota is 1-7 in their last 8 games against St. Louis. So I'll just throw that out there. But first pick is under 6.5. I love this spot. The total has gone under in 7 of Minnie's last 10 games overall, and the total has gone under in 4 of St. Louis's last 6 games at home. Love the under, Steele. That's my first pick of the night. Would you like my second and lock?
Yeah, real quick before you get to your second and lock, I completely agree with you with, the trending that Minnesota Wild haven't been great on the road in St. Louis, but
Thank you.
They have not been sliding. They lost their last game, but they're 8-1-1 in their last 10 games. So
you're right.
Not been sliding.
Right. Not sliding, but how about one game they looked like trash? How's that? That's better?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay, my bad. You're right. Not sliding. One game looked like trash. I retract that statement. Steele might edit this out, but he might not.
I might, but
leave it in.
Before we get there, we still have to hear your lock of the night.
Lock of the night and my second pick are both coming from the same game. And I want to give another shout out to BetOnline because the Avs on the money line, the best odd that I saw out there was at betonline.net. Avs on the money line minus 175. Look, I mentioned it before. The Winnipeg Jets are starting to look like the doo-doo Jets of old. I don't like it. ugly 3-1 loss against the Detroit Red Wings last time out. Colorado is 6-1 in their last 7 against the Winnipeg Jets, and the Avs are rolling right now. 2 big back-to-back wins against a really good Pittsburgh Penguins team, and we were a little bit concerned, and still am, about Gabriel Landeskog and Nazem Kadri's lasting impact. Those injuries could bite them in the long run, but right now the rest of that team is stepping up in a big way. That's what good teams do when major pieces go down. And man, has Mikko Rantanen been a big part of that pick-me-up. Look, the last meeting between these two, 4-0 Avs back in February. How about a 3-piece apples for Mikko Rantanen? I'm going right back to the apple orchard, pal. Mikko Rantanen, over not just 1 point. I'm saying Mikko Rantanen has a big, big night. Giving me 2 points or more for Mikko Rantanen. You're going to get a good odd. Take it over 1.5 plus Avs on the money line. Avs on the money line are my lock of the night. Give me that, Steele. I'm feeling it in a big way. Also, sorry, let me finish. 6 goals and 5 assists for Rantanen over his last 8 games. Bang up.
Man, Mikko Rantanen and Nathan McKinnon are some of the top tier players in this league for a good reason. But yeah, I like the Avalanche on the money line for the lock of the night. My last pick of the night, I'm taking the Panthers on the puck line against the Sabres. The Sabres don't do well on the road. The Panthers are the top scoring team in the NHL. Things are just clicking and lining up for me. So I'm taking Panthers on the puck line again. The puck line guru over here.
He's back.
But here, we'll say it once again. My lock of the night, the Wild against the Blues, under 6 goals at plus 100. Flip's lock of the night, the Avalanche against the Jets on the money line for him. Pencil it in, lock it in, put your money down, bring home the extra bacon to the wife, to the husband, whoever you go home to, some extra cheddar cheese in your pocket, for when things get a little dicey. But thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode and making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every day. If you want more gambling advice on what you should pick, but for not just hockey, make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and available on all podcast platforms, just like this podcast right here. So if you haven't subscribed or followed us yet, please make sure you do. And once you do, you'll get the latest episodes of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast as soon as they're available each and every day, Monday to Friday. 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. So you don't want to miss out on all the hot takes Flip and I have coming up, finishing the regular season, going into the postseason, and into the summer as well. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets tonight, and we shall see you back here again on Monday.
Peace.